Hey there, for those for the first time in my channel, my name is Zach. I'm 23 years old Russian who left Russia because of the war against Ukraine, and today we are going to discuss what has happened in Russia in the past 7 days. Let's get to it. We'll start with a little bit of economy. Putin has decided to spend way more money than it was planned in the budget for his own treatment and allocate more money for the administrations of the president. Kremlin was planning to spend 24.6 billions of rubles for the administration of the president and Putin himself, but something has changed and they have decided to spend 30.8 billions of rubles on the president in 2025. For those who are curious how much is 31 billions of rubles, it's basically 323 millions of dollars they only want to spend on Putin himself, while Russian pensions for retired people are about $200 or $300, not more than that. And Putin just want to spend 323 millions of dollars for his black caviar, maybe for hookers, anything else, whatever they include in this budget. The spendings of the Russian budget are going to be increased by 10%, 10.5% in next year, while the president's spending money are actually going to increase by 25%, which doesn't really align, to be honest, but, well, it's Putin, it's his personal dictatorship, and he can allocate himself as much money as he wants. I remember somebody even called Putin as one of the richest men in the world nowadays. Not because of the amount of the property he has, but because Putin literally owns Russia. And he owns pretty much anyone in Russia. He can do whatever to those people. He can kill them, he can steal them, he can kidnap them. His friends can do the same. He can take any business and have no problems with that. He had a bunch of resources, a lot of oil, a lot of diamonds. He's one of the richest men in the world. Discord, a widely used platform, social media for mostly voice messages and voice communication, really popular among people of my age and younger. They were fined for 3.5 millions of rubles, about $70,000, I would guess, maybe $60,000, for not deleting information about LGBT propaganda. Well, right now in Russia, as I've noticed in my previous videos, it is illegal to post anything related to LGBT or even tell that you are part of LGBT, because this is going to be considered as a propaganda. They think that by seeing that LGBT people exist, other kids or other people gonna turn LGBT themselves. That's what they believe. And eventually, I don't even know if they believe this. I think they just want to hate on some minority to drag attention from bigger problems. Anyway, so Discord was fined 3.5 millions of rubles. As far as I know, they haven't paid it. I would be surprised if they would, to be honest. But if they won't pay this fine, and if they are going to receive more fines in the future, they might end up being banned in Russia. And that actually may cause even more dissatisfaction than slowing down of YouTube. By the way, YouTube still works in some parts of Russia. In some regions, there is more problems than in others. It's still basically slowing down. It's not completely blocked. People can still access YouTube with no problem, pretty much. So Discord might have to face the same thing, but the thing is that there is no replacement of Discord, really. Discord might also get slowing down in the future, but I think it's not a short future, though. Here's an interesting conversation between one of the soldiers of the Russian battalion Rusich, which I actually have a video when I was talking about neo-Nazis in Russia compared to Ukraine. And one of the soldiers of that neo-Nazi battalion Rusich, the squad's leader of whose was a big fan of Nazi Germany and Hitler himself, and he admitted himself that he's a Nazist. The guy on the left is a famous Z Telegram channel owner. He runs this channel and he also fights in the Rusich battalion. And he has a conversation with a pope of the Russian Orthodox Church. And as far as I know, he also has participated in the war against Ukraine. And they have a really weird discussion and really interesting statement to make. Let's listen. Literal following of commandment to not kill anyone is only followed by sect members. Because the meaning of the real commandment of not killing anyone is only takes play when it's about your personal interest. And here the Topaz on the left, he says that the people who say this, the people who say that we should not kill anyone, are ignoring the context. They are too radical in their views. It means not to kill from your own personal interest. So I would guess you can kill if it's for somebody else's interest, then killing is okay. Okay, well, let's see what they have to say. To protect the motherland, we do this with love. Love to our motherland and to our brothers. If there is no love when you kill someone, then this is a real killing. But if you kill and love at the same time, not your enemy, I guess, you kill for love, then this is not a killing. He says, yeah, I absolutely agree with this, and I tell this to everyone. Because if we get rid of love from what we fight for, we will turn into our enemies, meaning Ukrainians. So Ukrainians, in their logic, are not fighting because of love to their homeland, because of love to their hometown, which will be wiped out by Russia if they surrender. They're not fighting for the wives, mothers, the daughters who are going to get raped by the Russian soldiers if they, put down the weapons. Yeah, Ukrainians are fighting for somebody else's interest. I guess they would say that Ukrainians are actually fighting for the American interest, for the world government interest. And Russia is the only nation in the world that can actually say no to the world government or whatever. Okay, I'm getting deep into conspiracy theories, but I'm pretty sure that's really how they think, though. I know those kind of people really well. There is a lot of people in Russia who believe in that.
Потому что тогда мы впустим в свое сердце уныние, предательство, мы поверим самой отчаянной лжи, самой сладкой, но самой коварной.
So basically they say if there is no love in your heart when you kill, then you are susceptible, you can be misleaded, you can let hate in your heart.
Вот буквально кто такие наши враги?
This is literally who our enemies are, the ones who've done all this.
Которые сейчас стоят напротив нас. Это мы, лишенные любви.
Our enemies are literally us, but they have no love.
Лишенные любви к самим себе.
They have no love for themselves,
которые следует уважение, из которой
from which comes out self-respect and loyalty.
Которые следует желание противиться искушению. То есть, вот если говорить, здесь можно сказать любовь в сердце человека, да, можно сказать Бог в сердце человека, контекст не изменится. Да, мы убиваем врагов, делаем это достаточно эффективно и не без удовольствия, скажем честно.
Yes, we kill our enemies, we do it professionally, and to be honest, we even enjoy this.
Но без ожесточенного сердца.
But without having violence in our heart.
У нас нет желания доставить им страдания.
We don't have... Our reason is not to make them suffer. So they're doing them a favor by killing them without suffering. Oh, that's really kind of you guys.
У нас есть желание, которое чувствует хирург, ударяя опухоль.
We are as a surgeon who has a desire to cut out a tumor from its patient to save the organism. So they are saying we are cutting out Ukrainians because we are doing a favor for Ukrainian land. Oh wow, that's like pure Nazism, I think. Wow. And I'll remind you This guy is fighting for a literally neo-Nazi battalion Rusich. It's not even compared to Azov, okay? Azov would never compare to those neo-Nazi battalions from Russia that literally praise Hitler. Here is my video from like back in 2022 when the war started about Rusich. Well, not really. The video is called Other Nazis in Ukraine, what I think is a Russian. And here's a chapter about Rusich. It starts from 551. In the government of Russia. Or, for example, Rusich, kind of informal battalion of the Russian army that were taking place and were taking part in military actions in 2014 and 15. And many of them right now, many of the members, they're right now taking part in the wars that are going on in Ukraine. Many of the war experts say that Rusich is really similar to Azov battalion. Most of its members have neo-fascist and neo-paganist views. They used to fight for pro-Russian republics in 2014 and 2015. The leader of this organization is Alexei Melchakov, and he is literally a neo-Nazi. There are many photos with him and Nazi swastikas. In one of the interviews, he literally said that he is a Nazi.
Я нацист. Я нацист. Я не буду углубляться. Националист, там, патриот, имперское направление и так далее. Я прям говорю, я нацист. Можно руку вскинуть.
Recently, I can't even raise my hand. Anyway, so this is a conversation we just watched before. It was a soldier from this battalion who is being led by this guy who's literally saying, yes, I'm a Nazist. I'm a Nazist. I can even raise my hand. I'm proud of this. And that guy is having a conversation with the Pope discussing how killing Ukrainians is doing a favor for the Ukrainian organism to save it from an ill tumor. Wow. This is a photo of 80 years old Irina Gribnyova, who is a chef editor of a local newspaper in Vladivostok in the far east of Russia. Unfortunately, I don't have a better picture of her. That's the only picture I was able to find. She was found guilty for spreading false information about the Russian military and fake about the Russian military, and eventually fined. Basically, they charge her with a misdemeanor, which actually can grow into felony if you do the same stuff in the near 1 or 2 years. And she just wrote an article in her own newspaper where she is a chief editor, which I'm pretty sure probably has 200, 300 readers. Those local newspapers in Russia are kind of dying out. Most of the people get their news and media either from the TV or internet. Not a lot of newspapers are being read nowadays in Russia. Pretty much the same as in the West, I guess. But a little better in the US, though, from what I've noticed. More people actually read newspapers than in Russia. So she got fined for 60,000 rubles for writing an article that Russia might have a possibility of another wave of mobilization, which might be absolutely possible. No one knows. I'm pretty sure even Putin is not sure this might happen. But because they don't want Russian people to freak out, and I think mobilization was literally one of the points that freaked a lot of Russian people out. A lot of the Z people start to actually think whether they want the war to continue. A lot of young Russian men has left Russia, and Russia lost potential workers, and now they're short for labor. Before, in April, literally a person in the Russian parliament who is the head of the committee for defense, basically the army, he was saying that we might have another mobilization. So she literally said what he said in the parliament. Irina Gribnyova just copied what he said. And for this, she was charged with a misdemeanor, while the Russian parliament not. Even in a local little newspaper for 300 people, you cannot even mention the word mobilization. Otherwise, it's a misdemeanor. Do it again, it's a felony, go to jail. On this picture, a guy wearing a military uniform is actually a pope. His name is Cloud Romil, which is a really interesting name for a Russian person. I'm not really interested in his family history though. His civil wife was suspecting him of sleeping with his stepdaughter, who was about 11 or 10-year-old. She went to the police. Police started an investigation in February. And Cloud Romil was like, well, maybe I can just go to fight in Ukraine as a pope. And maybe then they will forget me for what I've done. And he went to fight in the front line. Here is a photo of him preparing to leave from his local church. And apparently, after he came back, police hadn't forgot that he was basically raping his stepdaughter, who's like 10 or 11. But they haven't charged him with a felony. It was basically a misdemeanor, and they put him on probation for 11 months. That's all. And I think the reason why he was not put in jail, because he was in the army. So basically, you can go rape whoever, nothing's gonna happen. No, you're gonna come back as a hero, go fight in Ukraine, come back as a hero. And more than this, the Russian Orthodox Church right now is currently literally trying to justify from having a baby, from giving a birth from a rapist. Rape happened, the guy who raped the child is now on probation, not even in jail, and the girl is being told by the Russian Orthodox Church, not directly, but I mean that's literally their narrative, that you should give a birth from a rapist, because otherwise it's a killing. it's great. It's like Christianity but upside down. That's interesting. Here's a photo of him with his stepdaughter holding icons. Well, bro, God didn't save, I guess, from raping your own stepdaughter. Wild. Here is a video of one young man in Russia doing a really stupid thing that eventually got him in a lot of trouble. He is burning a book of Quran next to a mosque in Volgograd in southwest Russia. It's a really short video. He's not, showing his face. He's just showing a book of Quran being burned. And that's about it. This guy's name is Nikita Zhuravlev. He was 19 years old when this happened in 2023. Later, Ramzan Kadyrov, the head of Chechnya, one of the most Muslim regions of Russia, got pissed off that his religion, his main book of his religion, was basically burned and filmed on a video. They have found him, kidnapped him from his region, arrested him, and put him in jail for 3.5 years. Here is a video when an investigation, it's really hard to call it an investigation, was happening for the charges that Nikita Zhuravlev, a 19 years old Nikita Zhuravlev, has offended religious feelings of some certain believers in Russia. Yeah, it's literally a felony after the Pussy Rights case. Offending any kind of religious feelings, well, mostly it's Russian Orthodox Church and sometimes Islam when it's concerning Kadyrov. It's a crime. It's a felony. You actually can go to jail for this. And so, when there was an investigation, like a felony criminal investigation going on, Kadyrov has sent his 15-year-old son to the police investigation office. Here's the video, by the way. Here is the 15-year-old Kadyrov son who is beating up a Nikita Zhuravlev, 19-year-old Russian kid who burned Quran. Nikita Zhuravlev is just left to protect himself from Kadyrov's son, because he knows if he is going to fight back, people who film this in the back are going to step in. And oh well. So basically they are torturing a 19-year-old kid who've done a stupid thing. I'm not saying he's done a great job, okay? I think it's a stupid thing. Shouldn't be a crime though. And for this, he's literally being tortured by Chechens. Later, Kadyrov was saying that he wished his son would actually kill him, not just beat him up. Kadyrov, this 15 years old Adam Kadyrov, his son, Kadyrov's son, never put in jail. He was actually given a bunch of different awards from all kind of Russian ministries and Chechen ministries and all kind of people. Like, he became a national hero, not national, but Chechen hero. But the Z people hate him a lot, because Zs actually hate Muslims. They hate immigrants from Muslim countries, and especially they hate Northern Caucasus, and Chechens included. And now there is this whole battle between Zs and Chechens, and Putin in between all this. He's like, well, you know what? I'll pretend like I'm a friend to both sides. You guys do whatever, just don't get me involved. And apparently, yeah, he just the reason I'm telling you about this actually right now, almost like 1.5 years later after this happened. Not that they put Nikita Zhuravlev in jail for 3.5 years. Now they charged him with treason for 8 years because Kadyrov, Ramzan Kadyrov, not his son, was saying that he was paid 10,000 of rubles to burn Quran, and he was paid by guess who? Ukrainians. So he was a Ukrainian spy. Now they have this theory, and the most smart move that Ukrainian intelligence could come up with is for him to burn Quran in front of the mosque. Yeah, well, absolutely makes sense. Kadyrov has a really great rationalizing instrument in there. Okay, poor kid who done a stupid thing, and now he'll spend about 11 or 12 years in jail because of this. And this might be one of the biggest conflict-making stories between Chechens and between Z people that can potentially play a role in a potential coup or anything else. Ekaterina Mizulina, I don't even know what kind of position she's taken in the Russian politics. It's really hard to explain this. She is this observer who works from Kremlin, who observe Russian pop culture. Rap, music, TikTokers, bloggers. If she doesn't like some of them, she makes them to come and ask for sorry for their actions to fix their music, or she goes and press charges on them. I'm not gonna present you a whole investigation, but she is directly linked to Kremlin. She's a 40 years old, doesn't have a family, doesn't have a husband, just whatever the only job that she's having is just watching and listening to different kind of artists in Russia and saying who is a potential threat for the Russian government and Russian culture and who is not. Mizulina went to a conference in Chelyabinsk, shout out Roman no fuckers. She went there just to have a conference, answer to the questions, talk about traditional values, blah blah blah. And I told you in the past couple of videos that Russia is literally trying to ban not having kids now. And one of the students, who was part of some kind of local media, asked, why does Mizulina doesn't want to have kids herself if Russian government is trying to promote this idea that not having kids is bad? And Mizulina got extremely irritated by that question. She said that nobody should get into her personal life. And after the conference, she told to the cops to identify the person who was asking the question. So now you cannot even ask the question if it's a public conference. And it wasn't even a question about the war or anything. It was just a question that, if you yourself part of the Russian government and you fight for traditional values, why yourself you're not having kids while you are trying to make other people to have them? And for this, you might end up in jail. Well, luckily, the lady who asked this question didn't. This guy's name is Andrei. He is from Mazhaisk, and he used to be a soldier of PMC Wagner. When he came back from the front lines, because he got wounded, he started to work on fixing his apartment up. Well, probably because he was all this time in the front lines and somehow it got damaged or whatever. He hired one of his neighbors to help him with the work. One day, the neighbor didn't show up because guess he slept in or got drunk or, well, you know how it happens. And Andrei, who is next member of PMC Wagner, by the way, he, I think, thought that he is untouchable. He can do whatever and nothing's going to happen to him after this because he is a member of PMC Wagner. And the thing is, he literally went to his neighbor, beat him up as bad that the guy later actually lost his eye. That's how badly a wounded Andrei actually beat him up. But it's just crazy how much violence right now is going on. And news like this, they pop up like mushrooms almost every day. And it's only going to get worse and worse. Kremlin takes Taliban out from the list of terrorists. They were there a long time ago, probably from 2016, 2014, as far as I remember. Taliban in the list of terrorists, next to ISIS, next to Al-Qaeda, and a bunch of other terrorist cells. And after Taliban took over in Afghanistan, Russia was trying to build some kind of connection with Taliban authority. They started to invite them to Russia. Taliban literally had official trips to Moscow. They were never seen together with Putin as far as I remember, but they have met with other Kremlin officials and they have negotiated all kind of stuff. But the thing is, by the Russian law, if a person who is part of Taliban actually comes to Russia, he should be arrested and charged with terrorism, and it's usually about 25 years in jail. None of this has happened. And apparently, only now, only after 3 years after Taliban took over, even more actually, they have decided to take Taliban out of the terrorist list. So now they can officially have relationship with Afghanistan. This is a screenshot from Yandex Music. It's a Russian analog of Spotify. And now, whenever you are looking a card of a musician who is recognized in Russia as a foreign agent, they actually label the card and it says "Участник группы признан инагентом." A member of the band is recognized as a foreign agent. So now, all the Russian people who listen to the music of their favorite artist know that whoever they listen to is a foreign agent. And a lot of musicians in Russia were recognized foreign agents just for not supporting the war, for calling for peace, yada yada. This is a little piece from the interview of Yelena Vyalbe, who is a president of the Russian Federation of Mountain Skis, and she's also an Olympian champion, well, probably a long time ago. She got asked a question: what should we do for Russian athletes being able to go and participate in international competitions under the Russian flag?
Должно случиться, чтобы Россию вернули наконец-то уже к соревнованиям, не только Олимпиадам, в целом, чтобы участвовали спортсмены наши под флагом и гимном.
Мне кажется, если бы мы какую-нибудь серьезную бомбу кинули
I think if you would drop some serious bomb
в центр Лондона,
in the center of London,
уже бы все закончилось,
probably everything would be over by now,
нас бы уже везде пустили.
and we would be let everywhere after that.
Я люблю, когда страна сильная.
I like when the country is powerful.
И, наверное, вот в нашей силе, да, вот как раз и раздражение всего мира.
And everyone is irritated by us because we are too powerful for them.
Поэтому, когда... Да не надо загадывать. А рано или поздно все равно, конечно, пустят.
Sooner or later, they are going to let us to compete finally.
Им тоже некуда деваться,
They have nowhere to go.
потому что это вечно.
It's inevitable.
Наверное, с год назад я говорила, ну вот по окончании СВО. Теперь
1 year ago, I was saying by the end of the special military
я
operation.
понимаю, что даже по окончании СВО быстро ничего не произойдет.
Now I understand even after the special military operation is over, it's not going to change fast. Well, I'll tell you, Yelena Vyalbe, if you say that you need to drop, as an Olympian champion, by the way, if you say as a Russian Olympian champion that you need to drop a bomb in the center of London, nothing is going to change faster from your statement. It's just awful. That's crazy. Remember how I told you about the Adam Kadyrov, the son of Ramzan Kadyrov, that he got all kind of awards after he beaten up a helpless 19-year-old kid in the police department in Chechnya? Well, here he's given another, maybe like 100th medal for, guess what? Being the youngest chief of security service of Chechnya. Yeah, Kadyrov literally made his 16-freaking-year-old son a head of security department of Chechnya, of the Republic of Chechnya. Well, which is part of Russia, but still they have their own department. 16-freaking-year-old kid. And you know where they have announced about this, about the award? Shaking everyone's hands. Has two flags on the sides. One is a Russian flag, and another one is a Chechen flag. And it's kind of interesting. It's for them. It's for him. I mean, showing this, it's kind of like saying that Russia and Chechnya is the same level, while not really. Chechnya is a region that is part of Russia. Chechnya was fighting for its independence in the 90s, and well, they have lost. And Putin right now is throwing all the money to Chechnya so they would not start to claim independence again, so they would be living happily and good. But apparently all this money are being spent by Ramzan Kadyrov and his family. Yeah, they build infrastructure. Chechnya is not bad. It's one of the better looking regions because all these new buildings are being built on the Russian taxpayers' money. Chechnya is not paying for its own budget, okay? They get most of the money. I think 80% of their budget is actually coming from the federal budget. They're making their own money. Not like a lot of regions of Russia doing this. And basically, they are doing all these freaking shows, having the son of Kadyrov shooting freaking golden, machine guns from both hands. I'm not joking, by the way, that's a real video. I guess you were thinking I'm saying shooting golden machine guns from like a 16-year-old son Kadyrov shooting golden AKs is exaggeration. Bad news. So cool. So cool, right? So yeah, it wasn't an exaggeration. And so here's the video where they give him an award for being the youngest chief of the security department of Chechnya. Only the best ones are getting in the book of records of Russia. That's what the guy with the microphone said. Blah blah blah. Here you go. Not much of applause, really. I think even Chechen people are like, what the frick is that? What is... Jeez, okay, whatever. This is Daniel Poperechny, a stand-upper who got famous for his YouTube channel. Yeah, pretty good, big YouTube channel, probably like a couple million subscribers, 2 or 3. I'm not sure by now. Anyway, so in Russia, he was recognized as a foreign agent for getting paid from YouTube. Yes, getting money from the AdSense, basically getting his monetization money for people watching advertisements, which are actually, Western advertisements in the other countries, because Russia doesn't show advertisements anymore. I mean, YouTube doesn't show advertisements in Russia, because what kind of advertisers want to buy advertisements right now in Russia? Not many, I would guess. Anyway, so he was recognized as foreign agent, and by the law of the foreign agents, which I actually have a whole video about, you can get recognized for any foreign money coming into your bank account. And apparently, he was recognized as a foreign agent for foreign money from YouTube. Speaking of YouTubers and bloggers, other content creators, Russian censorship department, Roskomnadzor, they actually made it mandatory for you as a YouTuber to register in the list of YouTubers and content creators if you have more than 10,000 subscribers. Well, I have about 50,000, meaning that I have to literally go on the website of Roskomnadzor, fill out my first name, my full name, my last name, my date of birth, my phone number, and my email. And only then I can make money off advertisements. And if you don't, and if you're not gonna do it, you won't be able to get the money on Russian platforms like VK, Yandex, YouTube. So they also have their own partnership kind of programs, so you can make money actually off posting your content. And apparently, if you're not gonna register yourself in the list of creators, you are not gonna get the money. And the reason they're doing this, because now if some kind of content creator posts something about Putin or the war or Kremlin or whoever, they can find this person because now they know his full name, the date of birth, phone number, email, basically. Well, they know the home address. If they know the full name, they can do whatever. So it's just another censorship mechanism, basically. After the war started, Putin was trying to ban Wikipedia, because right now, if you go on a Wikipedia being in Russia and look up like special military operation or whatever, you're gonna end up on the page Russian war against Ukraine, and you're gonna find a lot of interesting materials there. as a Russian citizen who is not really supposed to see this by the opinion of Putin. So that's why they were trying to block Wikipedia. But again, they're not that stupid. Before blocking something, they have to provide a replacement for a product, like they've done it with YouTube. And apparently, they were trying to make Russian Wikipedia, okay? They called it Big Russian Encyclopedia, and they have allocated about 1 billion of rubles to develop the project. Most of the money was supposed to be paid for the salaries of the people who would write, or I would guess, rewrite articles from Wikipedia, censored articles. In a couple of years, they have written almost 98,000 of articles. Only half of them ended up being published, but now the project is getting closed. The main reason is because lack of funding. They figured, okay, I guess it's kind of useless to spend that much money to rewrite Wikipedia with the Russian censorship, and you also limit information for potential scientists or students or whoever else. Wikipedia is a big source in Russia. People actually, in a lot of pages I was going to in Wikipedia, some of them would have really few languages available, like most of the time English, most of the time German, and I would say Russian as one of the languages too. Here's an interesting page, it says languages used on the internet, and here's a little list. So English is the first language, 55%, then it goes Spanish, then goes Russian, the third most common language on the internet. And just banning information in a Russian language from even a foreign source is limiting your potential growth for scientists, students, research, building more missiles to kill more Ukrainians. You know, they still understand they cannot really do this. So I don't think they're gonna ever block Wikipedia, even if it's gonna say information which is not allowed. Well, I'm not saying ever. They can still go whole North Korea mode and do whatever they want, but not in the near future. 2 residents of St. Petersburg were put in jail for 11 years for putting banners and stickers with invitation to join the Free Legion of Russia, the battalion that's fighting for Ukraine. They're fighting on the side of Ukraine, and they fight Putin, and it consists mostly of Russian volunteers who are fighting for Ukraine. And 2 of the volunteers from St. Petersburg who were trying to get more people in the region, in the battalion, so more people would know about it, they got in prison and got 11 years in jail. I'm currently volunteering at Meals on Wheels, and I think this is a great program for elders who cannot afford to feed themselves, basically helping people to fulfill their basic needs in food. And I've been telling to a lot of Americans that we don't have Meals on Wheels in Russia, even though it really is a thing that is needed by a lot of people, especially those who live in apartment blocks, and most of the people in Russia live in apartments. 5-story apartment buildings, 4-story apartment buildings, they don't have an elevator. And a lot of elders who live on 5th or 4th floors cannot even go out to get groceries because it will be extremely hard for them to go back up the stairs all by their knees, by their own feet, because there is no elevators. So, some of course has relatives, some has neighbors, but what about the people who don't have neither? And those are the people who really need help, who basically just starve to death because they cannot go and get groceries in the store. Well, sometimes they don't even have the money. And so I was telling you that there is no Meals on Wheels in Russia, and people were surprised, like, that's such a basic program, why there is no Meals on Wheels or something like this. And my response was always that it's basically almost like illegal. Well, not by law, but in practice it's illegal to make your own non-profit organization which would solve some kind of problem that the government couldn't solve, couldn't provide enough. And the reason why it's illegal, because the government doesn't want some random people from the street doing its job better, even if they messed up. Because now people, when they see that they're actually getting some other people are doing something good and they're not related to the government, it creates a threat. It creates possibly in the future politicians. It creates activists. It creates people who can challenge Kremlin. The reason I'm telling you this, because in Yekaterinburg, in Ural Mountains, 4 activists, just volunteers, who decided to make some food and give it away for homeless people. Yes, Russia also has homeless people. Not as much as in the US, but because police just takes them away from the street and sometimes arrest them for sleeping on the street, for example. And apparently, they were prohibited by the police to give away food for homeless people. They called it, the police literally called it this, as a non-registered event, because you have to register all kind of events. So they called it a protest, basically. Just some guys feeding homeless people. They have arrested them. They called their lawyer. The lawyer came and police beaten up a lawyer. I hope this explains why Russia doesn't have Meals on Wheels and there are channels like Vasya and the Hay exist, because, well, if Vasya and the Hay would make an organization that would try to do this, he might have ended up in jail or in prison, or he might have gotten into trouble, because the Russian government doesn't want any kind of volunteering which is not directly related to the local government or to the federal government. Zakhar Prilepin, Z writer who wrote a couple novels since the beginning of the war about Russian war against Ukraine, and he has really interesting takes here to say. Let's listen what he has to say. Мироздание, that's such an interesting word. Like, let's say the space, the universe is doing everything for us, Russia, to win. The universe is raping us to win.
Форма переворота в Украине, на Украине, в Киеве, которую мы предполагали, что она удалась.
Let's just imagine that, you know, we would win easily in Ukraine, change the government. On the place of Zelensky, we would put Medvedchuk.
Садили Зеленского с поста президента и посадили Медведчука. Никакого переворота в культуре.
That would mean for us, for Russia, there is no change in our culture. There is no change of the direction towards China and India. No change of mentality. None of this would happen to us.
Галкин, Макаревич, Роднянский, Ургант и компания, откровенные враги.
Listen to the names of the traitors of Russia. He's basically saying that if this war wouldn't start, all those people would stay in Russia who are literal enemies of Russia. And he's saying about like musicians, Rodnyansky, who is a movie director, all of those people would stay in Russia.
Которые болеют за тех людей, которые убивают русских, остаются все поголовно на своих местах.
They would all still in their position in Russia and maybe even got better positions.
Даже, может быть, даже улучшают свои позиции. Мы в другую сторону не развернулись, у нас хотя бы шанс есть вернуть себе свое большое национальное, огромное русское.
We have a chance to return our big national Russian name. I think by name he means like power or like respect from other countries. So basically, Zakhar Prilepin is saying if we would not start the war, or even if we would start the war and the war would go as easy and they would take Kiev in 3 days, then there would be no change in the mentality. Russian people would not have to struggle, and he's saying it's the universe who's making us struggle. So we would develop these traits, we would change the direction towards China and India, I guess becoming colonies of China mostly. So he's saying if it would be that easy, that would be just not fun, I guess, for him. Oh well, I guess if you want 500,000 of Russian men dead for the change of mentality, well, here you go, Zakhar Prilepin. You got it. By the way, this guy was almost assassinated in his car. His driver has died, and he was in the rear seats, and he hasn't died. But you know what? He could be one of those victims of the universe, as he says. This is a road. It's not just off-road. Okay, this is actually a road because you can see there is a sign over there in Sakha-Yakutia, one of the most richest regions in Russia. Natural resources wise, has one of the biggest diamond collection, like resources inside of its soil. One of the highest amount in the whole world, actually. And this is how their roads looks like. I know people from Yakutia. I've met people from Yakutia. They live really poor, not making a lot of money, not getting a share from the diamonds that are being taken out from their land, sold, and the money are getting spent in the Kremlin. Because Putin has changed the tax system when he came to power. There is a tax in Russia called NDPI. In English, I think it's called severance tax. Basically, a tax for selling resources from the region. And the thing is that the regions of Russia getting zero money from the severance tax. All this goes to the federal government, meaning directly to the pocket of Putin, and the region itself cannot spend any money to build, for example, roads, because on this video we can literally see how those poor cars are trying to make it through this road. I guess something happened and they just don't have the money to fix it. And this is the region where they have the most diamonds in the country. This guy on the left is a Russian Duma member, Russian parliament. He said that they are discussing ideas of getting extra taxes for not having children. They are planning to add plus 3% to the income tax if you don't have children, 5% extra of tax towards getting heritage, plus 0.5% of a tax for your property if you don't have any children. Putin needs more soldiers. He's trying to do anything possible to get them. Here's an interesting video from, it looks like middle schoolers to me, probably might be high school. No, I think this is actually, oh yeah, this is Обществознание. I can see it here. Обществознание is a subject in Russia, basically social science, like kind of like civic course together with like social studies. And apparently, they actually want to ban this subject, but it's not banned yet because you can't really do it in the middle of the year. You have to do it in next year. So one of the classes of Обществознание, they got a veteran of the war against Ukraine coming in. Here in the end, we can see him wearing a green uniform under the Russian flag. And the kids have an opportunity to ask questions about the war or about society or anything else from this guy. He's basically the teacher for today. And a real teacher of the Обществознание is filming in the back. So let's see what kind of questions would kids ask from a soldier who is fighting against Ukraine.
Кирилл, давай, второй.
Каково вот вам было, как вот вы себя чувствовали, когда
How did you feel
вы самое первое вот
when you
убийство сделали?
killed your first enemy?
Это не убийство.
And the teacher in the back is saying, it's not a killing.
Понятно вообще.
Это война.
This is a war, she says. Oh my gosh, I hate this kind of teacher. Just keep quiet, like in the back. You're not even there.
Вот-вот.
Там нету такого, как
And the soldier is replying.
компьютерных играх, там раз убил,
It's not like computer games when you get a kill and you get 100 points after
там
this.
оп, убил, там плюс 100 очков тебе, там твой красавчик, там, фраг, защита. Ты стреляешь в противника и не знаешь, что...
You shoot at the enemy, you don't know what happens to the enemy.
Да, ты там, может, попал в него, он упал там, но
Yes, you might have hit and he might have fallen down,
ты не знаешь, там, погиб он, не погиб,
but you don't know if he died or not.
жив он, ранен, ничего не известно. Может, ты даже бронежилетом не пробил.
Maybe the bullet didn't even go through the vest.
Дистанции разные, боеприпасы разные, и
Different ammo, different distances.
ты не знаешь, в чем экипирован противник, и, то есть, ну, ты не знаешь, что с ним. Если только наверняка туда из РПГ.
Only if you hit with RPG, you're pretty sure that the enemy is dead.
Все-таки там понятно будет. Так что, ну, ничего, еще один плюс.
He says, but, well, just +1.
Да.
And no other, I mean, it's just the silence. No one's, like, I don't know, react to this. This is, I'm just so glad I'm not in school there anymore. I'd probably go to jail. Because I don't actually remember we would have soldiers coming up to our classes, mostly to promote service in the military for in the final years. And I would ask them questions that would make kind of them to think about stuff. And I wouldn't do it like super openly because, well, I still don't want to fail the class, because my teacher would probably do me an F if I ask a tricky question, so to say. So I was trying to like do it in a smart way, but even then I still had problems. Like teachers would, I remember, well, it was this guy who was working in the Russian intelligence military service called SVR. And he was saying us like, oh, how great it is to be like a spy and blah, blah, blah. It's so cool. And I told him like, hey, you know, I'm studying law. I want to become a lawyer. And so by the Russian constitution, by this article, it says that none of the conversations of the people cannot be intercepted by anyone, because that's our right as Russian citizens. And he started to laugh, but then he kind of like, well, you know, we all know the constitution is not always followed, blah, blah, blah. And my teacher called me after the class and she was like, Zach, why would you ask this question? Like, it's not, don't you understand? I'm like, no, there is a constitution, it should be followed. And if it's not, then it's either the constitution should be followed or violators should be punished. And well, she didn't give me an F or something, but she was a little bit concerned with me asking those kind of questions. So here you go, again, the guy's asking the question, how did you feel killing your first opponent? And he's trying to kind of play around the question. He's like, oh yeah, well, you don't know if he's dead for sure. I don't know when was my first, blah, blah, blah. You don't feel anything, just +1. Yeah, sure. Well, all right, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching the video. As usual, it was me, Zach the Russian. Don't forget to support Ukraine. There are also ways to support the channel. Links are in the description below. See you in the next ones. Bye.